Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be our second episode of Ask Max, but I'm going to tag this video as Ryobi 18-volt inverter. So if you have come here to just see a review for the Ryobi 18-volt inverter, I'm going to throw a flag at the top of the video for you right now, so you can just go over there and watch that if you don't want to get more into like the electronics and mathematical side of battery sizing and stuff like that. And I'll also add that I am not an expert on this topic by any stretch, so if an electrical engineer comes into my comments later and tells me everything I'm telling you is wrong and states their case, you should probably listen to that person. I have consulted with a couple of people more knowledgeable than me on this topic, and I believe the information I'm about to present to you as a general overview, and in some cases just a theoretical situation, is accurate. But anyway, the question was asked in the comments of one of the Ryobi review videos I did, is how is it possible for this inverter to make 150 watts of power from, in the example I showed, I think it's a 3 amp hour battery, from 54 watts. So what's up with that? How does it work? That's what we're going to talk about. So the first thing we need to talk about very briefly is just some quick units of measurement and how they work and what they are. So a watt is a unit of energy, and if you want to know how many watts you have of something, it's the amperage times the voltage. So in the case of my video, we have a 3 amp battery, but that's a 3 amp hour battery, and it's an 18 volt battery, so it has 54 watts of energy within it, right? So, you know, what's up with this 150 watt that it can output? Well, another unit of energy over time is a watt hour. You get your power bill every month, you're billed in kilowatt hours. That's the measurement of how much power you use over time. So all day long for that month, that's how many watts you've used. A watt hour equals 1 watt by 1 hour. And then lastly, we need to talk about amp hours, which is another really straightforward concept. We have 1 amp by 1 hour equals 1 amp hour. So that is how these batteries that we're buying are rated. So if you have a 3 amp hour battery, it will produce 3 amps for 1 hour, or 1 amp for 3 hours, or so on and so forth. You can extrapolate that math yourself pretty easily. And the way this works in regard to the battery capacity in the Ryobi inverter, and this is the theoretical side of things, is that 3 amp hour battery is theoretically capable, and I've actually graphed a 2 amp hour battery here, so don't get hung up on things. We're past the Ryobi inverter specific part of the discussion. So any battery is capable theoretically, and this is only in theory, mind you, of producing an infinite amount of watts, infinitely approaching zero, for an infinitely short period of time. And that's kind of what this graph is showing you. So down here we have time that I've graduated in hours, but it doesn't matter, it could be seconds or days or whatever. So as the wattage goes up, you can have it for less and less time. And as the wattage becomes smaller, so you're demanding few watts, you can use wattage for a period of time infinitely approaching zero, again in theory. There are limitations to all that, and this is the most straightforward way I could think of to kind of show this, is just with this simple line that, you know, infinitely approaches zero out into space off this graph. So what I'm trying to say with all that is, so we have, let's say, you know, right here, let's just go ahead and say this is hours. Let's say my router experiment, where I ran my router for like 4.5 hours, falls at this point on the line. That's the period of time where this line for that battery crossed zero, and that was it. And any point on this line is going to be the wattage at any given moment, of the wattage consumption for any given moment. And all the area under this line represents the entire amount of energy in amp hours of the battery. So if we have my router down here at, you know, 4 and some odd hours, when I went to run my fan off of it, it's a much higher wattage appliance. You know, it was more like right over here. You know, it ran about 40 minutes. So this is kind of a basic representation of the theoretical relationship of how long you can power things and how those things work. I have probably made a huge mess of trying to explain this, but that's kind of the best I can do. And I've got one more slide here where this relationship is basically directly linear when you increase battery power. So as an example, I have the green line here being a 2 amp hour battery and the yellow line being a 4 amp hour battery. These would be on a 45-degree angle from the origin down here of this graph and shoot straight up. So if you had a 6, it would be an equal distance away basically. So every time that happens, the area under each of these curves doubles. So you have double the amount of energy in a 4 amp hour battery as you do a 2, which I think everybody knows. But this is kind of a graphical relationship, or a graphical example of that relationship to maybe try and clear some things up if you were interested in understanding that a little better. I hope that wasn't more confusing than it was helpful. If it did you no good whatsoever, please let me know and I can try again. As always, thanks for stopping in. I really appreciate it, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. This is Saddington Bear. He's our channel mascot and project supervisor, and he would like you to know I try to make a project video every week. You might be interested in some of these other videos. Take a look and let me know what you think. Thanks again for watching. Really appreciate it.